Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming up this week, we've got a lot to talk about with Galaxy's Edge, the reservations process from last week, some of the new things that they've announced, and we have some updates coming from inside the park. All that coming up next. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, and points around Southern California, this is the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. This is the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged, episode 768 for the week of May 8th, 2019. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disneyland vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And by DizBoards.com. Join the more than 1.5 million Disney fans who plan every aspect of their Disney vacations on our forums. You'll find advice from everything from theme parks, resorts, restaurants, Disney Vacation Club, Universal, and so much more. Head over to DizBoards.com and join in the conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Mr. Corey Fiasconaro.
Howdy, folks.
Mr. Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
Back on the switch, our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Ahoy.
Out in Fresno. I keep forgetting where you're from. Out in Fresno, California, Mr. Tom Bell.
Hello.
The Fresno Chili.
And joining us on the show for the first time is our newest Disneyland contributor, Miss Morgan Lamone.
Hi.
How are you, Morgan?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Morgan's been out in the parks for us, getting some stuff, and been doing some great stuff on Instagram, and been sending us lots of stuff. And so, very happy to have you on board. We're going to talk to you in just a little bit. But first, in housekeeping, if you are listening to our show, please head over to DizUnplugged.com to check out the show notes for links with everything that we discuss in the show. But if you're watching us on YouTube, right down below in the description, you're going to find all those links and all that information. And I do want to put out a plug for Magic Candle Company, magiccandlecompany.com, theme park and resort inspired candles. Using code DisneyInfo, get you 15% off all your orders, not just one. I forgot what
our scent of the month, I believe, is the reimagined Pirate Life.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've tried Magic Candle Company before and you've tried their Pirate Life candle, it was very similar to like a musty, dark ride water scent. This one was reimagined to capture more of like the fresh, oceany water scent. Right?
And it's great. I hadn't smelled the old Pirate Life one. But like hearing the description of it, it didn't appeal to me. So I ordered this one, and I love this. I really do.
Yeah.
And I know it's like I love all their candles. I do love a lot of their candles, but we actually went to Keith, who owns Magic Candle, and said that because there are some that I don't. So we told Keith that, hey, we're going to start doing some reviews on these candles, and some of them we're not, we don't like. And he's like, I'm all good with that. I know you guys like love our product and stuff, so I'm wide open to whatever feedback you guys have. I said, yeah, are you wide open to it on YouTube? And he's like, absolutely. So says a lot about him and his product that he's cool with that. Yeah. So you're going to see some of those reviews coming up shortly, actually. I think one of them we're going to get done and put up in the next week or so. And then we'll be doing reviews on different ones. So, but magiccandlecompany.com is a supporter of the show. So just being transparent about that, is a supporter of the Diz. So we do have a financial interest in that. But you can save 15% using code DisneyInfo. All right. So I think, is that everything I have?
I think so. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You don't have anything?
No.
Gregory?
On with the show, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do, Morgan's been sending us updates of what's been going on out in Disneyland. So Morgan, I met Morgan on the trip that we were on last, the end of March.
Yeah.
End of March, yeah.
The end of March. And standing outside that carousel that had just opened, what was it?
Critter Carousel.
The Critter Carousel
Pixar
California Adventure, Pixar Pier. I know. I'm
Planet Earth.
off to a slow. Shut up. I'm off to a slow start this morning, guys. Give me a break. It's been a long couple of weeks. So Morgan and I got to talking, and I don't know. I fell in love with her. Then got to meet her husband, Junior, who is an active duty U.S. Marine. And so we will I thanked him for his service, and thank you for your service, because I was talking with Fiasco about this yesterday, that gets overlooked a lot, the wives and the spouses of our active duty military. So thank you for your service.
Thanks.
Morgan. So let's talk about what's going on. What is this? What am I doing? Let's talk about what's going on in the parks this week. I know you noticed some changes and some new stuff. So why don't you tell me what you found?
So I'll actually kind of go backwards. Last Saturday was May the 4th, so just kind of natural Star Wars Day. And I went towards the end of the day, and it was just so crazy. I asked a cast member how long the wait got for Space Mountain, which is now switched over to Hyperspace Mountain, because our Space Mountain's pretty cool. It can change to Ghost Galaxy or Hyperspace, and which is Hyperspace is more Star Wars themed, and it gives it a whole different experience, especially for annual pass holders who come often. But the wait got up to 160 minutes on Saturday, which is usually like 60 to maybe 90, I would say. Tom, do you agree? Like Space Mountain's kind of
something
60.
like that, yeah.
Yeah. So 160. So me and Junior did single rider, so we didn't have to wait nearly as long.
How comfortable? I'm sorry, I just got to interrupt you. How comfortable? Your husband is 6'7".
Yeah.
He is this wall
not
of
6'7".
humanity.
He's like 6'5".
Okay, well, after 6'4", it's all academic. Okay, how does he fit? Like, how is he like getting in those cars? I mean, is that like uncomfortable for him?
Space Mountain's good. Matterhorn for me is and him is like a completely different story. We're like walking out with like our backs hurting. So Space Mountain's good. Matterhorn is just, I don't even go on that unless it's like the person that wants to go. It's their birthday.
I don't know. I don't know why Matterhorn isn't sponsored by like a chiropractic outfit, because I can't ride it. I'll be crippled.
Yeah, I feel the same way about you guys' Space Mountain over in California. I love that ride, but here in World, it's like at the same vibes as Matterhorn. I cannot ride that without coming out with back problems.
Yeah, not fun. So the rest of like offerings that were Star Wars based were a bunch of new foods. They had lightsaber churros. They had a new popcorn bucket that was Hoth themed. They had some cool Padawan punch and a rogue slush, which had like glow cubes in it, so you can change it to like green or red depending on if you're the dark side or light side, which is cool. They had the loaded fleet fries, an outer rim pasta, and dark side chicken sandwich, and I tried all of them, and they were all really good. And then it was so delicious. Something else pretty crazy of just like how busy it was at the parks. Star Wars Launch Bay, there was actually a wait to get into Star Wars Launch Bay, like 20 minutes.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
And usually that place is like abandoned, like no one really ever goes. But in there they had Rey, Chewbacca, Kylo Ren, Boba Fett, and Darth Vader. And usually those are about like 20 to 30 minute waits. But there they were an hour and 15-minute waits per character. And it probably was more that I talked to the cast member and they said they just ran out of like the time slot thingies or how long the wait is. So that was nuts. And then also another character, they had Captain Phasma with all of her stormtroopers kind of march down around Tomorrowland. It was pretty cool. She's very intimidating.
What's
so
her
they
name?
kind of did that.
You know.
What's her name again?
Phasma?
Phasma.
I was going to call her
like,
Captain Plasma, which I know is wrong. So.
But yeah, pay no attention to the geeks.
I forget you called Boba Fett something funny once too. When I first started, I remember you were like,
I say Boba Fett.
Yeah, you were like Boba Fett.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so she was around, but yeah. And they also had two different photo opportunities kind of towards the exit of Space Mountain. And one was the backdrop of Galaxy's Edge, which was pretty cool. And then another one was just May the 4th be with you. And you could take photos there. I think the wait got up to 2 hours for the Galaxy's Edge backdrop, but the Star Wars Day was just like off to the side. So
at that point, just draw your own.
At that point,
very busy day.
Just go to Hollywood Studios and take the picture there.
So I think I read that Hyperspace is going to be there all of May.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, so we'll be able to grab some of it. We'll be able to enjoy some of that while we're there.
Oh yeah, I love Hyperspace Mountain.
Yeah, Hyperspace Mountain is cool.
It's not. I actually prefer Disneyland Paris's because with the loops on that, it actually feels like. Well, it feels like you're in a real battle when you're on that one because you're looping around and such. But Disneyland is still awesome. I wish we could. We the closest we have at Hollywood Studios is during like Galactic Nights and special events. They'll transform Rock and Roller Coaster from Aerosmith to having like the Star Wars music.
Oh, that's
but
fine.
then it's still the same crap on the inside. So it's like big
Space
Hollywood, space donut. But you know it's so awesome at Disneyland. I love Hyperspace Mountain.
As opposed to our chocolate chip cookie and our Space Mountain, which is,
I miss our original chocolate chip cookie.
I don't know. I'm in agreement that Disneyland Space Mountain just blows ours out of the water.
Oh,
much
no
more comfortable.
competition.
I like the fact it's side by side.
Yeah. I like the speakers being right behind your head.
Yeah, it just is much better. I don't know why ours sucks so bad, but
Yeah.
okay. So what else, Morgan? What else in the parks? Anything?
So the people who like to drink, the margarita stand got a new paint job. It is like so bright and vibrant, you can't miss it. It's over in DCA in like the little food courtyard area, the Pacific Wharf, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. It's really hard to miss. Like I was walking past and I was like, whoa, got a new paint job. And then the Peter Pan's queue extended and they added more like hard railings than just like the chains. Because like it was really tight, and then so I'm kind of happy like for annual pass holders, like it's nice that like you have all the different lanes. So like when people want to lean on it, you're not like leaning into the other lane and you get someone's backpack on in front of you and you're just like, what? So that was really nice. And lastly, there's a new photo spot in Fantasyland, but it's only for like the Princess Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique packages. So they can get all dressed up and then they go over to this photo spot, and it's just a really pretty location. It definitely looks a little like, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but it looks like you could do it at like a JCPenney or something like that. Like it's nothing too great.
Laser background. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all my Disneyland updates.
Awesome. Very excited because team's going to be out there obviously the end of this month to cover the opening of Galaxy's Edge, and I'm very, 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 very excited. But we need to talk about that process because those of us with resort reservations on site at Disneyland from the 31st of May through the 23rd of June were automatically given reservations and times to go into Galaxy's Edge because it's a reservations only system, and they are driving home the point. There is not going to be a standby line for this. No reservation during that 3-week period, you're not getting in. So it was great for those of us who will be staying on site. We're guaranteed to get in and see it. However, for everyone else, they had to go into a reservation queue last week. Which day was it?
Thursday.
The 2nd.
Thursday.
Yeah, May 2nd.
May 2nd. And understand it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so Morgan, you were able to, because you're not staying on site with us, so you were able to grab a reservation and talk to me about that process.
So I got up at 7:30 in the morning because they announced that at 8 a.m. they were going to put on Disney Parks blog how to make the reservation. There was not much information about it, but they gave you a link where to go. I got in the link at 8:30 and just kind of waited there. I had my friend sitting next to me, like just kind of waiting. And then it said, do not refresh, do not close out and reopen. It said getting here early doesn't make a difference. with your place in line. But so I sat there and waited for an hour and a half, and then 11 o'clock rolls around, which is the time that they allowed everybody to start making reservations. And I was in group chat with some of my other friends who wanted to get reservations as well. And it was 11:10, and we were like, have you guys got anything? Have you guys got anything? And we're like, no, we're still on the screen. We sent each other pictures of our screen. Nothing happened. Then our friend texted us that her mom got one. And so we were like, oh my gosh, like, are we missing it? So we were stressing out. And then around 11:30, I was able to make a reservation. And then about 10 minutes later, another friend made a reservation, and then another friend. So it was really weird how they I think they must have gave access to a certain amount of people. So maybe the system didn't crash, which I think is kind of good, but it was super stressful on our end. Are we going to get it and whatnot? But when I made the reservation, they offered you probably 5 days to pick from. And then they, depending on if they were sold out or not, you'd get one time or 3 times. And so I think it was 8 a.m. to 12. And then I picked a later time because I wanted to not stress getting there super early. But yeah, it was really stressful, but I was able to get one, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, the sad part that I was following along on social media was it started off, obviously people took up May 31st right away, which is understandable. Mm-hmm. They want to be there the day it opens. The next day apparently that went was June 2nd, because I guess that was it was one day that a certain tier of pass holders could get in, and so that was the next one to go, and after Sunday. That they were blocked out.
That makes sense.
So I got June 2nd.
Yeah, well then apparently
Sunday, that's why.
Yeah, well then you were one of the lucky ones on that, and then from there, but they were still, so apparently people were getting the screen to pop up, and it was showing them that the first week was basically no availability or completely sold out once it got to a certain point, and they thought they were just done. But really, I guess there was another section that you could say show me more dates, and people didn't know about that right away, so they thought they were just out of luck because it was all gone in the first week, when they could have chosen the second week of June, third week of June, not necessarily right away. So
but Tom, you were telling me that there was also, and just correct me if I'm getting this wrong, you were telling me that people were missing the part where they could add more guests.
Yeah, it was a little tiny button, and if people were doing it on their phone and just scrolling past it, and once you click next, it's gone, and so people were not able to add guests to their reservations. So then Disney was having to figure out how to deal with that, and apparently depending on which cast member you talked to and when you called, some people were able to add some. Now they're telling people, was what I'm hearing, is that they can add one additional guest to the reservation, but apparently it wasn't just a few people. A lot of people missed that little button.
Now,
I missed that button.
Now, so Morgan, you missed it as well.
Yeah, so I'm going by myself on June 2nd.
Well, I wonder, maybe if you call,
yeah,
maybe if you call, they'll add at least one person. Because your husband needs to see it.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I'll call and I'll let you guys know how that experience goes.
I
get it, one or not.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, because we have our reservation through the hotel, we didn't get, we didn't go for the reservation queue. So I knew that. I knew that it would have to be chaotic. There was no way it was not going to be. But given that, how do you guys feel overall Disney did with it? Because it sounds like the most organized approach to something like this that I've ever seen them take.
I mean, for me, as far as I heard, the site did have some issues at 8 a.m. If you were trying to get on to log in, it was crashed or not refreshing at all. So I know that was an issue. And then after that, though, once the queue started, I know some people were having problems getting logged out of their accounts, and that was causing extra issues. But as a whole, the site didn't crash from anything that I read. It was more of the frustration that one of the other blogs out there, I can't remember which one for the life of me, so many people discussed it, but they actually went into the source code on the page and found out that the entire system was based on a random generator that for like every 2,000 people who were on, one would get pushed through to the next page, and then it would refresh, and it was going like it was all random.
Which
so.
I support that. I
do
think
too.
that's a very fair way to do it. And the fact that they were up front, apparently, when you got, like Morgan, you were saying, you got on really early, and it said you don't have a place in line here. That it won't matter when you came in. But that, I guess, once the process began, once the reservations opened, they were saying don't refresh.
Yeah. And I'm cool with it for a situation like this. If it was D23, though, like the D23 Expo, and they're like, you're going to book all the panels you want to see in advance based on a random generator instead of putting in the effort to sleep overnight, then I'm like, no, absolutely not. But for something like this, I think
we have our you and I have our sorcerer's tickets.
I know.
So the rest of them.
Thanks, Papa.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'll be sleeping on my target round.
You can sleep. Yeah, you can sleep on the floor. That broke my heart 2 years ago. These guys sleeping literally on an air mattress outside the Anaheim Convention Center.
Air mattress is it was a $2 pool float that we had gotten from Target.
Okay,
so that we had to blow up and almost passed out blowing it up because we realized, man, that's really hard to blow up.
Didn't I bring you food?
You did in little styrofoam things afterwards.
Brought you food because I felt so bad, and I kept telling you, look, I'm okay. You don't have to do this, but
we got to be in a room with all the Avengers on stage at the same time.
Yeah,
so that was
so. But so I mean, it sounds, generally speaking, like with the exception of a couple of hiccups, that they handled this pretty well, all things considered, and that gives me real hope for how they're going to approach the opening day on the 31st, because that's going to be the real test. Versus, because what I see, and I understand it's a different launch than what we're going to have out here. Annual pass holders are blocked out after June 23rd. All cast members are blocked out for the entire summer from getting in. So the pressure on those first 3 weeks to get in there, it's a different scenario than what we have here. But I'm starting to wonder if they're not going to do a reservation system here as well. As we get closer.
It's all tough. I think they'll hold off of it on our coast. But I think the nice part about it with Disneyland looking towards the opening, it's that clearly at this point operations is already in control and they're dealing with it. Nothing stresses me out more than like when I got to go in our Galaxy's Edge last week, and I'm talking to an Imagineer and I say, well, at Disneyland they have 3 entrance and exits, as we've talked about before. Out here we only have 2, and I flat out, like, one of the first things I asked was, so how's it going to work? And they're like, well, we just design it. That's operations job to actually come up with how it's going to work. And I'm like, that is the worst answer you could ever give. Because I mean, we always joke about it, and we know that we say that there's a bunch of people sitting in a room designing that stuff that aren't actually out in the park experiencing it, and to learn from what they're doing. And this is a situation where it has happened a little bit, but I feel like Disneyland operations, they know how important it is. They know that they can't screw it up, so they are getting ahead of all of this. So that's really hopeful.
I feel like they have yes, it's a smaller place, but they have a lot more logistics to consider that ours has a little bit more space to go with. Like, we have a new entrance into Hollywood Studios now that has this really absurdly long road that goes into it, that I do also think is going to be an issue later because there's this weird intersection problem over there. But, like, we have that, but I think, like, everybody's got to go in one of the parking garages, or the parking garage structure at Disneyland, or into, like, the Toy Story lot or something. The roads there can't handle the traffic that would be caused by people trying to come there, because it'll back up into the highway and it affects everything.
Yeah.
And like, we have the luxury of having that, like, we're all off the highway into Disney property at this point, but I'm just thinking, like, there's that thought that they have to have, getting the
there's
people
so much,
over there.
It's crazy. Now, one of the other things they announced recently was that they're going to be doing they are going to have mobile ordering from the beginning at Galaxy's Edge. Tom, what are you hearing about that?
Yeah, I think it was the OC Register reported it yesterday or the day before that I think it's the milk stand, the roasters, and I gotta learn these names, the first order cargo are going to have mobile order. So that'll make it way easier to try to get food. Problem is, if you're not inside if you don't have access to the land, and you're trying to use mobile order, are they going to know that you're not in the land?
What I heard was that in order to use it, you have to be in the land at the time.
Like the fast passes.
So with fast passes, you have to have been with the Max Pass. You have to have been in the park once that day.
Yep.
So if I've been in the park and then I go back to the hotel, and at the hotel I decide I want to make a Max Pass, it will let me. From what I'm hearing, this will not let you make a mobile order unless you're already in the land. And with the reservation system, that makes perfect sense, because if people are able to mobile order from Fantasyland in Galaxy's Edge, cast members are going to be dealing with, but I have an order, as their way of trying to get in. So we'll see how well their geotagging works with the app, because that's going to be specific.
Yep.
So if I'm standing right outside Galaxy's Edge, is it still going to let me? And I don't, if I don't have a reservation, is it going to let me make a mobile order reservation?
Just walk into a bathroom stall that's kind of like on the edge of the corner of the wall, and just
they're still not going to let you in to get your food. They're still not going to let you in to get your food. But
well, it's interesting because they're saying Oga's Cantina is like kind of left off of this, and for me, that's going to be the highlight of the food area. So it's like they're trying to keep it less crazy in there and just make it all like, okay, we're making stuff just for the people that are in here right now, and will they add mobile ordering later? But it's nice that some stuff has it for people that can't deal with that.
And as we're getting closer and closer to this, I'm realizing there are only one of two outcomes to this opening. It's either going to be very, very good, or it's going to be very, very bad. It's going to be either really well managed and well run, which is what I actually think is going to happen, or it's going to be the biggest cluster in the history of clusters, and they're going to take a huge black eye. I was really looking at some of this early stuff as just an indicator. So the reservations process. Now, not to say they haven't had glitches. They had glitches for those of us staying on site. The first reservations we got were for dates that the thing wasn't open, and our dates of check-in and check-out were wrong on the invitation. So they had to reissue them all to us. But the fact that they're something goes wrong, they're kind of fixing it right away, and we have our reservations. A lot of folks have their reservations that they're not staying on site. I realize some people aren't happy that they didn't, that they missed how many people to put in, or that it wasn't designed perfectly and that there was some crashes. But generally speaking, on average, I think they did a good job with this part, and it gives me hope that they'll do a good job with the launch. Now, I also had the thought of, one of the big factors in this for Disney is obviously hotel reservations, and the anticipation that the opening of Galaxy's Edge would have a significant impact. I want to be clear about this. Their hope was that the opening of Galaxy's Edge would have a significant impact on the hotels. Now, Disneyland doesn't have to worry about filling those hotels. They have 3 of them on site, and they all operate at 90% occupancy or higher on normal days. So I sat down last night and I took a look through the summer, looking after the 4th of July. So I started on July 7th and started doing week-long blocks just throughout the summer to see what the prices were, what the availability was. Well, here's the first piece of news. Full availability all summer long. Not one of those hotels is sold out. Now, I should put an asterisk after this. The booking window for these hotels is normally about 2 months, 2 to 3 months. So technically, we are in the booking window I'm talking about here, but it's not unusual for these things to sell out closer to their dates. So I'm looking at the entire summer, and right now there is full availability at every one of these hotels. And the price points are not ridiculously insane. So, for example, the week of July 7th, Paradise Pier has an opening rate of $412 a night, $561 at the Disneyland Hotel, $729 at the Grand Californian. Those are slightly elevated from normal, but not ridiculous for the summer. Not at all. I would have expected, if they were seeing a lot of volume coming in because people want to see Galaxy's Edge, I would expect those numbers to be at least $100 a night higher. It stays like that through August 11th, and then it drops down, which is absolutely normal. Around August 11th, a lot of times kids are going back to school at that point, so the prices come down. $387 at Paradise Pier, $574 at the Disneyland Hotel, that's up a little bit, and $681 at the Grand Californian. Prices stay in that range through September. The middle of September, they drop again. So if you are thinking about going out to Disneyland, there's plenty of availability on site. Plenty of availability on site. And the price points now aren't nuts. Now here's the big thing, and the same thing is true for us, because I'll tell you now, we have full availability here in the fall for our resorts in Orlando. However, if this thing opens and it is a massive hit and the word of mouth is great, this is going to change. This is going to change, because then the narrative goes from the crowds to I'm hearing how amazing this is. So if the blogosphere in particular comes back and says, oh my God, this was incredible, this will change. So if you are thinking about hitting Disneyland this summer, just be on the safe side, I would do it now. I would start booking any reservations you have right now. Even if you're thinking about September, I would do it now, because the prices are still reasonable. And it may not have any impact on the pricing at all, but hotel prices are yielded. So as the hotel fills up, the prices go up. So you were going to say something, Corey.
And when does the reservation system for Galaxy's Edge end again? And it's just
June 23rd.
June 23rd. So yeah,
June 23rd. So I decided to start looking on July 7th.
Yep.
Because that's past that. I just forgot what I was going to... Oh, and this could also be being impacted by the fact annual pass holders are blocked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So, and annual pass holders will... a lot of what stays in the hotels are locals. They come for the weekend.
yeah. And I think your casual Star Wars fans that might not be Disney Parks fans, they're going to start not by looking at hotels on site. They're going to start looking at hotels off site. I know Kylie's bugging me about wanting to go out and see Galaxy's Edge. I can't afford those hotel prices staying on property. Maybe for a night.
Yes, you can.
No, I genuinely can't. I cannot. If I want to retire one day, I can, but if I want to work until I die, then no. But so for us, it's...
So really, 1 week at the Grand, you're going to have to work until you die? Come on.
Yeah. Yes. That's how some normal people are. But you haven't been that for a long time. So...
Oh, my.
You haven't. And I'm
Okay.
And
all right, go on.
And I want to be that one day.
Go on.
But anyways, so like for me, I have to look at offsite right away, and that's where it'll get interesting to see if some of my favorite hotels are already filling up or getting a little bit more expensive on that. But I could consider staying on site for like a night or two if I knew that there was a better incentive. Like, let's say Galaxy's Edge closes for capacity, but maybe hotel guests are still guaranteed to be able to get in.
Well,
that would put me on site.
What I'm wondering is if they're going to do what we've announced, which we're going to talk about on our show in an hour that you're going to see yesterday, a little time travel thing that we do here, that we're doing extra magic hours. They just announced that. So they're going to be letting you in at like 3 a.m., 6 a.m. To get into get in there, and Galaxy's Edge will be open. So that's going to be a perk for hotel guests. I am almost certain they will do that. Out there.
The perks like that, knowing that if you're a hotel guest, that if it says they're closed for capacity, but you have your key card showing that you're a guest, and you can either get straight to the front of that line or bypass it. That's a huge perk that would drive me on site for maybe a night or two, or what you just said with super ridiculous extra magic hours in the morning or at night. That could drive me on for a night or two, but I think the casual Star Wars fan who wants to see it but doesn't care about Disney parks, they're not going to drive like for the on-site hotels right away. They're gonna look for off-site, especially if they're used to coming to stuff like Star Wars Celebration or other conventions.
They should stay at the Anaheim. The Anaheim Hotel.
They should.
We should put them there.
Yeah, they'll never come back.
I think also.
Go ahead, Tom.
Star Wars fans. One, they may be waiting for Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this before, waiting for that. And two, they collapsed that window between Hollywood Studios and Disneyland Park to 3 months. So the wait is like, I can go to Disneyland now, or I can wait 3 months and go to Hollywood Studios and experience there.
And another big thing, not only are they waiting for Rise of the Resistance, but we have this window right now where if you book a room, you have that 3 to 4 hour window that you can go visit it. But if you wait till the summer, you can spend all day in there if you want to.
Yeah.
True. But now Rise of the Resistance, what I'm hearing unofficially is January. That's when they're planning to open that on both coasts.
Well, it's weird because the 30th anniversary event at Hollywood Studios was on May 1st, and they said, and I don't know if it was a slip-up or that she just didn't know what she was saying. I think it was Meg Crofton said it. No?
No.
It was a woman. No?
No, it's not Meg. Meg Crofton hasn't been president of Walt Disney
I don't know
World
who
for like
it was.
1,000 years. The cleaning woman has retired.
It was a woman. And she came up.
It was. I do know who you're talking about. It was. They had. We had. What's his name there?
Wow,
Phil
I'm
Holmes.
so proud of you. I'm so proud of my team.
Phil Holmes was there, of course, because he's in charge of that park right now. And then it was his counter, and she just butchered it. Like, we're butchering their names right now, thinking back to it. She was like, and coming in spring 2020, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad. And it's like you're reading off a screen and you can't get the name of the attraction right.
Well, they said a couple times during that presentation that you would be able to ride Rise of the Resistance later this year. And I was like, I don't think they should be saying this right now because this is being live streamed on Disney Parks blog, and if they're misinformation.
Yeah, and look, I could have it wrong. Like I said, what I've been hearing is January. But that's anybody's guess. One other thing I want to talk about before we wrap, not Star Wars related, for once. I was taking a look over on the Disneyland forums at disboards.com, and there was a thread there entitled Fantasyland, Be Ready to Lose Something You Love. And apparently, it's been going around for a little bit now, there's a rumor going that a major attraction is going to be shut down in Fantasyland at Disneyland. Some people are speculating that it's going to be Pinocchio's Daring Journey. Mm-hmm. And Craig, you had some, I know you're texting someone, but you had some comments, some thoughts about what that might entail?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a little bit on Connecting with Walter. I don't remember if Michael and I just talk about it when we're recording sometimes, but the Pinocchio's is definitely swirling around as the rumor right now, and it doesn't help that Red Rose Tavern, which took over Pinocchio's village house there, has never changed off of being its Red Rose Tavern Beauty and the Beast theme. So, of course, there's a lot of people speculating, well, maybe this will end up becoming part of a bigger Beauty and the Beast little mini section right there connecting a restaurant and an attraction. So that's kind of the big thought there. I even heard one wild one that I think it was just, I can't believe it to be true, but I heard one wild one at one point. Someone said that they think they'll even get rid of Snow White too, so they have extra space on
so
that
they turn
stretch.
the 2 into the 1?
Yeah.
Turn 2 attractions to 1?
Yeah, I think that's a little next level bonkers. I think that person was just talking about it from a level of feasibility, is that, well, if you get rid of 2 attractions side by side, you get extra room. Not so much that it's actually something being talked about, but you know what? That does make sense too.
It would, yeah, it does, and it would make sense that once the construction is done, major construction is done with Galaxy's Edge, they'd be moving on to whatever the next project is going to be, and bringing Beauty and the Beast out from Shanghai. How would we feel about that? I want to go to the locals first. So Tom, I'll start with you. How do you feel about if they close Pinocchio? How do you feel about that?
I would be disappointed. There actually is room in Fantasyland to expand. I mean, the boat dock area where the motorboats used to be long time ago. I mean, they could expand there. Mickey and the Magical Map is fun, but that's a big. Morgan's making a face. Yeah. That's a lot of area there they could put an attraction in, and spread out Fantasyland more, spread out the crowds a little bit more. I don't think closing Pinocchio and putting a new attraction in there is the right move.
Morgan, what about you?
I agree. Like, I wouldn't want them to touch Snow White or Pinocchio's. I was chuckling at Tom because I have friends that watch Mickey and the Magical Map, all 5 shows in one day. I am not that person. But I think Map is nice. But to put a cooler attraction like the Beauty and the Beast at Shanghai, I think that would be a really nice upgrade. Yeah.
All right. So, Rhino, you were getting ready to say something.
Oh, I think it would be great because that video they released of the attraction with the Bell animatronic looked great in the video, and so I would love to see. It's hard because it is one of those you don't want to see something with so much history go away.
That's
but Walt
it.
was all about this isn't a museum. We move forward and we innovate, and I feel like it's stalled.
Every time there's a discussion like this, I find myself pivoting in my head back to something Corey Fiasconaro said to me a while ago, that they should do a theme park just for these retired attractions. So imagine if they had a theme park where, like, okay, we got to close Pinocchio, but we're going to move it over here.
Yep.
And by the way, Horizons. Here's Horizons. How insane it would be a huge hit among hardcore Disney fans. No one else would go there, but it would break my heart if they did it, because I love these classic dark rides, and we have fewer and fewer of them here because they've closed. They closed Mr. Toad's Wild Ride here. They got rid of Snow White here. They've gotten, we still have Peter Pan.
The thing with Pinocchio, though, if it was to go, I know we all look at it like it's classic, but for people, it's not. It's only been around since '83. So this was Tony Baxter when they did the new Fantasyland out there. He brought in Pinocchio as part of that reimagining of the whole area.
But still, it's done in that style of the old dark rides.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm really afraid of losing. But I do agree that they have to move forward. It's not a museum. I just wish they had a place they could put these things.
And we're going to call it the Old Kingdom, TM. I accept PayPal, check, cash.
Old Kingdom.
Whatever you want.
So, all right.
And we've got the Mickey and Minnie ride coming to Toontown.
That's
back
right.
There. Marvel Land coming to DCA, so construction is still going on, and I mean there are more important areas to Tomorrowland that need some attention than Fantasyland. So.
We said on the top of the show, and I don't think we talked about it yet. Did we want to ask Tom about his? Speaking of Marvel, want to talk about his experience at that party?
Oh,
real quick, because we are running.
Yeah, no worries.
So what was the party first, Tom? Tell people what the party.
Sorry. It was a Disneyland After Dark Superheroes Assemble. So this was the first Disneyland After Dark party that they moved to California Adventure. It was $109, 2 different nights, April 30th and May 1st. My disappointment in it was that there wasn't a nighttime spectacular. For $109, I expected a special World of Color or something like that. And with all these parties, you got to choose your battles. So either you're doing the meet and greets, or you're doing the foods, or you're doing the dance parties. I chose the attractions. In 4 hours, I was able to get on everything in the park. Basically, by an hour into the party, get this, Toy Story Midway Mania was a walk-on.
Oh my gosh!
Right. In the Credicoaster,
that right there is worth $109.
Yeah. Incredicoaster was walk-on. Guardians was like 10 minutes. Raider Springs Racers was basically walking through. So if you wanted attractions, this was the party because it never sold out. But as far as entertainment, I saw there was a dance party in the World of Color viewing area, and there were maybe a half a dozen kids dancing.
And Tom in a tube top.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a lot of that kind of stuff. It just depends on what you want. It wasn't for me. I don't enjoy the meet and greets, and plus, like we talked about last week, they had already brought out Hawkeye and Black Widow and those characters again, so they were already in the parks. The only new character that we hadn't seen yet that they introduced was Iron Man, and of course that was the longest wait. So there wasn't a lot of additional stuff.
Now, as you mentioned, it did not sell out. And so do you think...
I thought one of the nights did end up selling out.
Did it?
No?
Okay.
Because one of my friends couldn't go and was trying to sell the ticket, and I thought he said it was sold out.
Well, he may have just been trying to sell you a ticket. So do you think... What do you think the future holds for parties at California Adventure? Because that was a speculation. That's why it wasn't doing well.
I know.
Because it was being done in California Adventure.
It's going to be interesting. We'll see how ticket sales are going for the Halloween party, and that'll probably be the judgment they use for future parties. I don't see any more Disneyland After Dark parties this year. With Star Wars opening, it's going to be, I think it's going to be too hectic to do anything.
Okay. Well, there you have it. All right. That is going to do it for our show for this week. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Morgan, for joining us. Thank you, guys, for being here, and thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We will see you again next week with another episode of the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. Have a great week, folks.